Imagine it's getting dark and you're walking down a high, wobbly suspension bridge. As you make your way across the bridge, you start getting butterflies in your stomach. Your heart begins to pound and your palms start to sweat. When you finally reach the other side, you see a very attractive person and decide to ask them out on a date, believing that it's love at first sight. Is it though? The sensations that you experience while walking across the bridge are very similar to the experience you might have when going on a first date. So why do we mistake fear for attraction? Misattribution of arousal is a peculiar phenomenon in which physiological sensations generated by the sympathetic nervous system are misinterpreted as romantic arousal. As you walk across a wavering bridge, hundreds of feet off the ground, your fear causes a stress response. This causes your sympathetic nervous system to then prepare your body to combat this stress by increasing your heart rate, dilating your pupils, and producing sweat. These responses should sound familiar in the context of romantic interest. You see your crush walk by, your heart rate increases, and you notice your own nervous sweating as you attempt to make conversation with them. Because these symptoms of being love-struck and the physiological reactions produced to target stress are so similar, it would make sense as to why we might mistake one for the other. This might also explain why going to a scary movie or the carnival are such popular first date choices. The heightened arousal from a suspenseful horror flick in a dimly lit theater, or the pause in the motion of a roller coaster, might make you find your date more attractive by the end of the night. The Capilano Suspension Bridge study is arguably the most famous misattribution of arousal study. An attractive research assistant asked men who just crossed a suspension bridge to finish some simple tasks. After the tasks, the woman gave them her phone number and told them to feel free to call. A control experiment was held on another modern cement bridge. As a result, the men who crossed the Capilano Bridge were almost twice as likely to call the woman and came up with sexually suggestive narratives compared to the other group. Researchers argued that this is because emotion from one source can be transferred, misattributed, to another source. In this case, the arousals they had on the scary bridge was misattributed after the phone number hint and became sexual attraction. A 2003 study exemplifies this phenomenon further. Men and women were asked either before or after going on a roller coaster ride at a theme park to rate their levels of nervous system arousal, such as heart rate, breathing rate, etc. Then, they were shown a picture of someone from the opposite sex and asked to rate their attractiveness and dating desirability. The participants were also asked who they were riding with, either a romantic or non-romantic seatmate. The findings indicated that the residual arousal from the ride transferred over to ratings of attraction of an opposite-sex stranger, but only among persons who rode with a non-romantic seatmate. People who were asked to rate the pictured individual after the roller coaster were more likely to rate the attractiveness of the person as higher. So maybe going to a theme park or watching a scary movie as a first date isn't a bad idea. Misattribution of arousal has the potential to be a double-edged sword. It could mean that you get the person way out of your league at your weekly ice climbing session, as they misinterpret their heightened states of arousal for sexual attraction. Or it could mean a relationship goes stale once the infatuation fades, and you both realize neither of you are really compatible with each other. If you consider the investment model of relationships, where compatibility involves investment in the partnership, satisfaction, and the perceived level of alternatives, then simply misattributing arousal in a single instance may not lead to a long-lasting relationship. However, if your partner is the only person equally passionate about ice climbing as you are, you've bought a van together to explore all of the ice cliffs around North America, your time exploring and adventuring with them is the most fulfilling, and there's no one else in the world you'd rather perform menial tasks with, then you might have a keeper on your hands. So if you're afraid of heights and you take a hot air balloon ride with an attractive stranger who's as equally fearful as you are, does this mean you'll immediately fall in love with each other and live happily ever after? Not necessarily, but asking them out on a date might be worth a shot.